Hi everyone, this is Mr. Hall and this is a quick video about the heart. By the end of this video you should be able to know the following things. You should be able to know the different parts of the heart and also the function of each part of the heart, and that includes the blood vessels that go inside and outside of the heart. I'll also describe very quickly about how heart rate is controlled, and then also how you control heart rate in hearts that don't work very well. This last point, I'll touch on it very quickly, but it's something which I might expand on in a future video. Okay, so let's get started. So the heart, it's an organ and it's at the center of the circulatory system. Now the circulatory system, if you recall from your previous learning and videos, it's a system that is responsible for sending nutrients and oxygen around the body, and it does that through arteries and veins, and the heart is the pump that basically helps send everything around the body to its required destination. Now the heart's got an interesting structure which we'll need to talk about, and it's basically made up of muscle tissue. It's a huge muscle, and it's a very strong muscle because it has to send blood everywhere in your body. Now it keeps pumping 24 hours a day even when you're asleep, so it's a pretty phenomenal muscle, and it's surrounded by coronary blood vessels. Now the word coronary basically means relating to the heart. So whenever you see that word, that's basically what it means. Okay, so don't get too confused about that word. Now the heart on the outside, if I was to draw what it kind of looks like, it will look a little bit like this, and you'll see sort of blood vessels going out of it. And then the thing is that on the outside, what you'll see, you may know this from dissections or watching videos, is that you'll see these sort of blood vessels on the outside, and they look like sort of little rows sort of leading off like that. Now these are your coronary blood vessels. Now the reason why the heart has these blood vessels is because it needs blood itself, okay? And the reason why it needs blood is because it needs the glucose and the oxygen, and it needs it for the process of respiration, and respiration is needed for the energy that it provides. Now if you remember, respiration is glucose plus oxygen, which makes carbon dioxide and water, and it also makes energy, and it's this energy that the heart needs because it's pumping all the time. Okay, so when the blood comes in, it will have the glucose and oxygen which goes into the heart cells, and then when it respires and pumps away, the carbon dioxide and water can be taken away in order to be excreted. Now the heart structure on the inside is what you really need to know. Okay, so each side of the heart is divided into two sections. Now this is the right side and this is the left side. Now that seems counterintuitive because when you look at it, you think, hold on, this should be the left and this should be the right. But you're not looking at it based on you looking at your left and right. You're looking at it based on, if you were facing someone and that person was facing you, it's that person's left and right, as if this was their heart. So for example, if you're looking at me on this video and it's my heart, my left-hand side would be here, and that would be the same as your right. Okay, so it's basically flipping and reversing them. So that would be wrong. Actually, your left-hand side is here and your right-hand side is there. Now those sides are split into two chambers, which gives you 4 chambers in total. Now this is your right atrium, which is this chamber here, and this is your left atrium there. And then the other ones are called ventricles. So this is your right ventricle, and this is your left ventricle. Now you also have valves in the heart. Now the valves are basically in 2 key places. One of them is here, where it separates the blood from the ventricle and this blood vessel. And you've also got a valve here which separates blood from the ventricle and the atrium. So you basically have these 4 major valves. And the whole point of them is to prevent backflow of blood. So what you don't want is when blood comes in, what you don't want is blood to kind of go backwards in on itself. That would be really, really bad. Okay, so that's why you have those valves. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the blood vessels. Okay, so you have the couple of blood vessels here. You have the aorta, which is this one, and you have the pulmonary vein, which is this one. Now let's talk about these in turn. Now blood flows in first through the pulmonary vein, and then it comes out through the aorta. So I'll change the color of the pen here to make it a bit clearer for you. So blood comes in this way. It will then go into the ventricle, and then it will get pumped out this way before exiting via the aorta. Now the whole point of the pulmonary vein, it sends blood from the lungs to the heart. Okay, now this blood is rich with oxygen. Okay, so it's got lots of oxygen, so we say it's oxygenated. And because it's oxygenated, and it's got lots of oxygen, it means it can supply that oxygen to other cells in the body, which it needs for respiration. So oxygenated, lots of oxygen, and then the aorta takes the blood from the lungs, no, sorry, from the heart rather, to all the cells in the body. Okay, so if you like, what we could do is we could draw the lungs in. So if I was to draw it like, oops, so this is coming from the lungs. So let's say these are your lungs here. Okay, so blood is sending it there, and then this is just going to the whole body, and I'm just going to write body here, and this is all the cells that would require blood and the oxygen that it provides. So that's that side. But as soon as the blood goes to the body and it does respiration, it's going to need more oxygen because it's been used up in respiration. So that blood then has to go back to the heart. Now it goes back via the pulmonary, or the vena cava rather. So it's going to go over here and it goes into the vena cava. So for the vena cava, it goes from the body to the heart. And then from the heart is going to be pumped out again in order to go back to the lungs. Okay, so the pulmonary artery, that job is to send blood from the heart to the lungs, and it's going to the lungs in order to pick up more oxygen. Okay, so that's pretty much your route, and that explains nicely why it's called a double pump, because on the one hand it pumps blood to the body, and on the other hand it pumps blood to the lungs. Okay, so that's why it's called a double pump. So just to be clear, this is the vena cava, this is your pulmonary artery, this is the aorta, and that's the pulmonary vein. Okay, so now what you'll find are pacemaker cells, which are found in the right atrium. So around here, this is where you're going to find pacemaker cells. Now, pacemaker cells are really important because what they do is that they control heart rate. So the average heart rate is around 60 or 70 beats a minute, and what the pacemaker cells are, they stimulate an electrical signal to make sure the heart contracts at that rate. Okay, and if it's obviously too fast or too slow, that's really problematic for the body. Now, sometimes these don't work, okay, for reasons which I won't cover now, but I might cover in a future video. And what you can then put in is an artificial pacemaker, which is like a little device. And what that will do is stimulate an electrical signal to make actually the heart contract properly at the correct rate. Okay, and that's it. So I hope that was useful, and best of luck with your studies on the heart.